I quit my six-figure job for Technova Sunday night. They rescinded it to install the CEO's nephew. The email notification sound usually needs a spam message or a receipt from Amazon, but at 8:15 p.m. on a Sunday night, the sharp ping echoing in my empty apartment sounded like a gunshot. I was sitting on a half-unpacked box labeled office supplies, staring at the city skyline from the window of the new, expensive apartment I had just leased. Tomorrow was Monday, March 2nd. My first day at Technova Solutions. My dream job. I picked up my phone, expecting a welcome aboard message or maybe instructions for the morning meeting. The subject line made my blood run cold. Urgent, regarding your employment offer, rescinded. I blinked. I wiped the screen with my thumb, thinking it was a smudge, a mistake, a hallucination brought on by the stress of moving. I tapped the email open. Dear Samuel, we regret to inform you that due to unforeseen internal restructuring and budgetary constraints, the position of Senior Director of Operations has been eliminated effective immediately. As such, your offer of employment is hereby rescinded. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. Regards, HR Department. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. Eliminated. Rescinded. I stood up, my legs shaking so violently I had to grab the windowsill to stay upright. I had quit my job 2 weeks ago. I had a stable, six-figure career that I walked away from because Technova had courted me for months. They told me I was the missing piece. They offered me a 50% raise. They gave me a signing bonus. I had signed the contract. I had passed the background check. I had an employee ID number. I had a company email address. I ran to my laptop, which was sitting on the kitchen counter amidst a sea of bubble wrap. I tried to log in to my new work email. Account disabled. Contact administrator. I opened LinkedIn. I searched for my new manager, David. I clicked on his profile. Profile not found. He had blocked me. I felt a cold, suffocating pressure in my chest. It wasn't just panic, it was the physical sensation of my life imploding. I had signed a lease on this apartment based on that salary. I had paid first, last, and security deposit nearly $10,000 using my savings. I had burned the bridge at my old job. I was unemployed. I was trapped in a lease I couldn't afford. And the people who did this to me had ghosted me 12 hours before my start time. Restructuring, I whispered to the empty room. Liar. I sat back down on the box. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I was in shock. But then, the shock began to curdle. It turned into something hot and sharp in my gut. I opened LinkedIn again. I went to the Technova company page. I clicked on jobs. And there it was. Posted 1 hour ago. Senior Director of Operations. Location, my city. Status, actively hiring. They hadn't eliminated the position. They hadn't restructured. They were still hiring for my job. My hands clenched into fists. They lied. They lied to my face, in writing, on a Sunday night, leaving me destitute. I took a screenshot. Then, I saw a notification on my personal LinkedIn. A message request from someone I didn't know. Message, hey man. I saw you updated your profile to incoming director at Technova last week. I used to work there. You need to know something. They didn't restructure. They used you. I stared at the screen. Message, they do this all the time. They hire external candidates to scare the internal guys into taking lower promotions. Look, we have a guy ready to start tomorrow, take the 10% raise or leave. Once the internal guy caves, they cut the external hire loose. You were leverage, Samuel. You were never getting the job. Leverage. I was a pawn. A bargaining chip. I felt sick. Physically sick. I grabbed my trash can and dry heaved, but nothing came up except bile and rage. But that wasn't the worst part. I called my old boss, Greg. It was late, but I was desperate. Maybe I could beg for my old job back. Maybe I could fix this. Samuel? Greg answered on the second ring. He sounded surprised. Greg, I choked out. Something happened. Technova, they pulled the offer. Tonight. Is the position still open? There was a long silence on the line. A silence that told me everything I needed to know. Sam, Greg said gently. I filled it. Yesterday. The guy started this morning. Yesterday? Technova's VP called me on Friday, Greg said. He asked for a reference check, but really, he just wanted to confirm you were gone. He asked if you were fully committed and if we had replaced you. I told him yes. I thought he was just being thorough. They checked. They made sure I had no safety net. They made sure I was completely severed from my old life before they cut the cord on the new one. It wasn't just business. It was malicious. Thanks, Greg, I whispered. I understand. I hung up. I sat in the dark apartment. The city lights twinkled outside, mocking me. Then, I went back to LinkedIn. I needed to know who won. I needed to know who the internal candidate was. I searched recent hires at Technova. And there he was. Updated profile, Tyler Sterling. New role, Senior Director of Operations at Technova. Start date, March 2026. Tyler Sterling. I googled the name. The first result was a wedding announcement from last year. Tyler Sterling to wed, name. Son of Robert Sterling, CEO of Technova Solutions. The CEO's son. No, wait. I read closer. Not son. Nephew. Nephew of Robert Sterling. The restructuring was a lie. The internal candidate story was only half true. They didn't use me to scare an employee. They used me as a placeholder until the nephew was ready, or until he needed a job. They hired me, let me quit my job, let me move, and let me sign a lease, all while planning to dump me the second junior wanted the seat. I looked at the boxes around me. I looked at the lease agreement on the counter. I wasn't just a victim of bad luck. I was a victim of fraud. And I was going to make them pay for every single second of this nightmare. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen island, surrounded by the physical debris of my life, packing tape, cardboard, and the empty promise of a new beginning, and I built a war room. I printed everything. The offer letter, signed by the VP of HR. The relocation package agreement, promising reimbursement for moving costs up to $5,000. The lease I signed for this apartment, which required proof of income from Technova to approve. The email from David, my would-be manager, welcoming me to the team and assigning me a project due on Wednesday. I had relied on their promise. I had detrimentally changed my position based on their word. In legal terms, that's called promissory estoppel. Monday morning, 9 a.m. I didn't go to the office. I went to the law firm of Henderson and Associates. Mr. Henderson was a labor attorney known for eating corporations for breakfast. I sat in his office, my eyes bloodshot, and laid the papers out on his mahogany desk. They rescinded the offer on Sunday night, I said, my voice flat. After I moved. After I quit. Henderson looked at the papers. He looked at the LinkedIn screenshot of the nephew. He looked at the restructuring email. They lied, Henderson said, tapping the screenshot. Restructuring implies the position is gone. But here it is, filled by a family member. And here it is, reposted online. Is that illegal? I asked. It's an at-will state. They can fire me for any reason. They can fire you for no reason, Henderson corrected. But they can't fire you for a fraudulent reason. And they can't induce you to quit your job and incur damages if they never intended to employ you. That's bad faith. That's fraudulent inducement. He leaned back in his chair. Samuel, this isn't just a lawsuit. This is a piñata. And we're going to beat it until candy falls out. We filed the complaint on Tuesday. Samuel, last name, versus Technova Solutions. Causes of action: promissory estoppel, fraudulent inducement, breach of implied covenant of good faith. Damages sought: lost wages, 1 year, relocation costs, emotional distress, punitive damages. The response from Technova was immediate and arrogant. Their legal team sent a letter dismissing my claims, citing the at-will clause in the contract and claiming business necessities changed at the last minute. They offered me $2,000 to go away. I told Henderson to tell them to shove it. We moved to Discovery. This is where the bodies are buried. In the digital age, nothing is ever truly deleted. Henderson requested all internal communications regarding this Senior Director of Operations role from January to March. Emails, Slack messages, text messages on company phones. Technova fought it. They claimed privilege. They claimed it was unduly burdensome. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Reynolds, overruled them. If you claim restructuring, you must prove restructuring. Hand over the documents. 3 weeks later, a box of printed emails arrived at Henderson's office. I sat there, reading through them, and my blood turned to ice. Email from VP of HR to CEO, January 15th. We have Samuel on the hook. He's the top candidate. But Tyler says he wants the role. He's finishing his MBA in February. Email from CEO to VP of HR, January 16th. Hire Samuel. We need the ops coverage for Q1. Tyler can shadow him or take over later. Let's get Samuel locked in. Email from Tyler, the nephew, to CEO, February 20th. I'm done early. I want the director spot now. I don't want to shadow some random hire. Make it happen, Uncle Bob. Email from CEO to HR, February 21st. Cut Samuel loose. Tyler is ready. Do it before Samuel starts so we don't have to pay severance. Rescind the offer on Sunday night so he can't make a scene in the office. Email from HR to CEO, February 21st. Samuel has already relocated. He quit his job. This opens us up to liability. CEO reply. He's a backup. We'll cut him loose once family is in. Just say restructuring. He won't sue. He doesn't have the money to sue. He doesn't have the money to sue. I stared at the words. They knew, I whispered. They knew the whole time. I was a seat warmer. A placeholder for the prince. Henderson was smiling. It was a terrifying, shark-like smile. This, he held up the email, is evidence of malice. This proves they never intended to honor the contract long-term. This proves they lied about the reason for termination. And the nepotism? That destroys their business necessity defense. We sent the evidence to Technova's lawyers. The tone of the conversation changed instantly. The arrogant dismissals stopped. The go-away money offers stopped. Suddenly, they wanted to talk. They wanted a settlement conference. They wanted it confidential. Why? I asked Henderson. Because if this goes to trial, Henderson said, this email chain becomes public record. Investors will see that the CEO is making hiring decisions based on family favors rather than merit. It will tank their stock. It will destroy their reputation. They are terrified of you, Samuel. We met in a conference room downtown. The Technova team was there. The VP of HR looked pale. The general counsel looked like he wanted to strangle someone, probably the CEO. The CEO wasn't there. He sent his minions to clean up his mess. Mr. Last name, the general counsel started, his voice smooth and conciliatory. We acknowledge that the handling of your offer rescission was suboptimal. We are prepared to offer a generous package to resolve this matter. Suboptimal? I laughed. You ruined my life on a Sunday night because your boss's nephew wanted a corner office. We are prepared to offer 6 months of salary, the lawyer said. Plus relocation costs. No, Henderson said. 8 months, the lawyer countered. No, Henderson said. What do you want? The lawyer snapped. I want a year, I said. 1 full year of the salary I was promised. Plus the signing bonus. Plus the relocation costs. Plus my legal fees. The lawyer balked. That's unreasonable. Is it? I slid the email across the table. The one where the CEO said he won't sue. Read that out loud, I challenged him. Read it to the court reporter. The lawyer stared at the paper. He knew. Fine, he whispered. 1 year. But you sign a strict NDA. You never speak of this. You never mention the emails. And one more thing, I said. What? I want the termination classified as without cause. I want a letter stating that the rescission was due to no fault of my own. I want to be eligible for unemployment benefits for the gap between jobs. Done, the lawyer said. He looked defeated. I signed the papers. The check cleared 3 days later. A lump sum. Enough money to pay my rent for 2 years. Enough money to take a breath. But the NDA? It covered the settlement amount. It covered the specific emails. It didn't cover the truth about their hiring practices. And it didn't cover the other victims. A week later, I was having drinks with an old colleague. Did you hear about Technova? He asked. What about them? The HR director got fired, he said. Apparently, there was a leak. Someone anonymous sent a tip to the Department of Labor about discriminatory hiring practices and fraudulent inducement. I smiled into my drink. Crazy, I said. Yeah. And rumor has it, they're being audited. Something about using H-1B visa applications to justify hiring family members? I don't know the details, but it sounds like a mess. I had sent the tip before I signed the NDA. And the best part? I got a notification on LinkedIn yesterday. Tyler Sterling is no longer employed at Technova Solutions. He lasted 2 months. Apparently, the board of directors didn't appreciate the nepotism hire once the audit started. The CEO couldn't protect him when the shareholders got involved. I'm working at a competitor now. A better company. One that respects contracts. I have 20 days of PTO. Tracked. Documented. I'm taking a vacation next week. A real one. And I'm going to send a postcard to the HR department at Technova. Just a picture of a beach. With the caption, having a great time. Thanks for the bonus. So, tell me. Am I the monster for forcing a company to pay me a year's salary for zero work, or did they just learn that talent isn't the only thing that's expensive? Sometimes, the most expensive thing in business is arrogance.
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.